Welcome back to the Overt Thinking Podcast, where we take all the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle chaos in your brain and help you make actual sense of it. Today's episode is for every woman who's ever thought the answer was to just shrink. Eat less, do more, cut the carbs, restrict. Maybe you even got deep into the keto or Whole30 trap because you were promised fast results that would last.
But what if the goal wasn't to be smaller or more restricted? What if instead it was about shaping a body that feels powerful, well-fed, and actually sustainable? Our guest today has lived both sides of that story, and she's not just speaking from experience. She literally wrote a book on keto.
But over time, her perspective changed, and today she's passionate about helping women move beyond restriction and into true body recomposition, where muscle matters, food is fuel, and shrinking is no longer the metric for success. We are so excited to welcome Rachel Gregory, a board-certified nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach, author, podcaster. Also, congrats on your 100th episode this week. Woo! And coach, who has worked with hundreds of women to rewrite the rules around nutrition, body image, and long-term health. We are so happy to have you here.
I am happy to be here.
And before we let you really get to know her, we're going to play our favorite little game called This or That.
Usually it's this or that, but today we have if you could be any ice cream flavor, Rachel, what would you be?
And
if
why?
I could be
And why?
an ice cream flavor.
Yeah. What ice cream flavor would describe you?
Oh,
You can add in whatever you want to it.
wow. This is a tough one. I think I would be cookie dough. And the reason is because when you get that little bit of cookie dough, it's always like the best bite.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, this is so good.
So you're kind of like good, but then when you get to the golden nugget, you're like, wow, this is so good. I love
There's an
that.
element of structure to it as well. Like if you want the perfect bite, you have to have the right ratio of said cookie dough
100%.
and ice cream. You
And
can't
like chocolate, like chips, like cookie dough chips, right? Like the cookie dough and the chocolate chips, and then like the vanilla ice cream.
Totally.
so specifically chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
Yes, that.
I love it.
What ice cream flavor would you be, Brie?
I would be a rocky road.
Ooh.
Really complex. A lot of texture. I think chocolate just at baseline, when people are like, oh, vanilla or chocolate, they're like, oh, chocolate's like the, they're like, oh, vanilla's boring. Well, I'm not boring. I'm very opposite of boring. So
Yeah.
I think I would be a rocky road.
Is the base of a Rocky Road vanilla or chocolate?
It's chocolate,
Oh.
which adds complexity, I think.
Honestly, vanilla is kind of an underrated flavor. Like,
I mean, I'm a
Absolutely.
vanilla
a
person.
good vanilla slaps.
Although, if we're talking protein ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
Which is your thing?
when I make protein ice cream, chocolate is my flavor.
100%.
But for regular, real ice cream, I don't like chocolate ice cream. Vanilla all the way.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would be mint chip because not everybody likes it.
That's
Exactly. Not everybody likes it. But the people that do, those are my people. You're also my people. Even if you don't like mint chip ice cream, like you can still sit here.
Is there a characteristic other than likability about mint chip that feels related to you?
It's an acquired taste. Which kind of goes to the
complexity
likability
of like the mint and then the chocolate, and like how like the chocolate's very like smooth and like go with the flow and like minty. Like there's a point here. It's minty.
There's
It's
got to be some
refreshing.
like subtle mintiness. It can't just be like the most potent mint. Like it's got to be subtle but minty enough.
And then what type of volume are we working here with the chocolate chips?
I like a variety of chocolate chip sizes. Like I like little big chunks,
Not shreds.
mixed in with little tiny little bits. But if it's too tiny, then it gets stuck in your teeth.
They could melt away. Yeah, this is a fun topic. Ninja Creamy ice cream completely changed my life, 2 years ago now?
I don't know. It only took you a year to listen to me.
It took at least 3 months for Rachel to take my phone and say, I'm buying this 160 Ninja Creamy right now because you need it. She came over with, I think, two boxes of cereal, all the mix-ins you could ever want, with protein, and we made it together.
And now you're the proselytizer of the Ninja Creamy.
Yeah, the middle MLM scheme of Ninja Creamy that we could have created, man. I mean, Ninja Creamy is my favorite way to know that the day is ending. Like I've Pavloved myself. You too?
Same. Yep.
Every single day.
night.
You just need that like end cap for your day. Like that's why I think a lot of people need a little sweet treat at the end of their day, sometimes, every single day.
Sometimes every day.
Anyway, we digress. So I want to talk about your involvement with the first ever human clinical trial for a ketogenic diet. That is so fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I was in grad school, I went to grad school for nutrition and exercise physiology, and part of our like degree for the 2 years is we had to do a study, and a lot of my classmates were doing more so like research, like not, human interaction studies. And I wanted to do something a little bit different and a little bit just kind of like out of the box. So this was back in 2014, end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And I had just started getting into CrossFit. When I was in college, I did triathlons. And then when I got to grad school, I didn't have time to do that anymore. So I was like looking for something else. And so I joined a CrossFit gym at where I went to grad school in Virginia. And it was mostly just like most of the women in the CrossFit gym were just like moms and people in this small town just looking to like get a good workout in, trying to lose body fat, trying to just like get in shape. And this was also when keto kind of kicked off. And I read a book on it and I was just like, this is fascinating. I've never heard anything that you could literally test to see if you were following a protocol, like within nutrition. So you could,
Because you could test the ketones.
exactly. Yeah. So you could pee on a strip and test if you were in ketosis or not versus, anything else. So to me, that was like really cool. I'm like, wow, you can actually like see this. So I tested out for myself a little bit and I started to notice some benefits from a lot of like the cognitive side of things, especially being in grad school. I was working as an athletic trainer. I just had really long hours. And then also like the appetite suppressant side of it and like not thinking about food all the time and being hungry. And I was like, wow, this is magic. And, I ended up losing a few pounds in the beginning. And I just kind of was just like really fascinated by the whole thing. And so when it was time to pick a subject for my study, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick a nutrition protocol that I could put into an exercise population. And so when I had just started CrossFit, I was like, oh, this is a great kind of exercise population to use. CrossFit was also pretty like newish back then. And we were asked to do something that was like different. So my mentor in grad school was like, you need to pick a topic that hasn't really been done before. So that's kind of where the two merged. And that's how we kicked it off. And it was like ended up being, well, do you want me to get into like a little bit of the summary or?
I want to know what you found. Like how did the actual testing happen? Like were you in there like doing the ketones? And...
Yeah. So like I went and gathered pee cups every week from the CrossFit gym and went back to the lab and tested like dipstick, tested ketones. But it started with, so basically it was a 6-week study. There was a lot of pre and post work to it. So the actual study itself was only 6 weeks, but like the whole thing lasted like a year plus, all like the pre and post work stuff.
And did you control, like, did you tell the participants what they should be eating, or were you just like eat mostly fat, limited protein, no carbs?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a piece of it, which was actually a little bit different. So with keto, a lot of people think high fat, right? And I think that's a little bit of a misconception in like your general population of people who are looking to implement keto as a tool for body composition changes or like cognitive benefits versus the medical population. Because keto really started for people who were suffering from epilepsy and to treat seizures where you have to have really high ketones to be able to do that. And that's where like the high fat comes in and the lower protein, lower carb. But for this specific population, we basically just said the one thing that you need to do is limit your carbs to under 50 grams. And we had them eating ad libitum. So meaning eat as much as you want. And we took like food logs and they were told to track their carbs, but not necessarily like all of their macros for example. But we got food logs every 2 weeks throughout the study. And by the end, we found that most of them were still eating a decent amount of protein. So they didn't bring their protein like all the way down as a traditional ketogenic diet would be. But they brought their carbs down and they were able to get into ketosis from that. And what we found, the results were that after those 6 weeks, the average amount, like when we took all the data and plugged it all in, all of that, there was a statistically significant difference in the subjects who were in the ketogenic diet group in terms of their loss in body fat versus those who were in the control group. And the control group was just told to eat what they were eating, like normally. And they were not, we tested to make sure that they weren't in keto at any part. And so by the end, we basically tested some performance metrics. We tested their body composition using a DEXA scan before and after. And the results just showed that they had lost a statistically significant amount of body fat compared to the control group. And they were able to also maintain their performance at the end of the set, like throughout the study, in terms of some of the specifics that we tested for CrossFit. However, we did notice that in the beginning, like the first 2 weeks when they were in that adaptation period, they did lose a little bit of performance. But by the end, like once they were adapted, they were able to get back to it.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it's interesting because it was such a short study. And I'm curious because this obviously led you to writing the book on keto. I'm curious how you shifted from like this being a useful tool, or maybe you had like a more dogmatic view of it as like, this is the way that everybody should eat. Like, when did you switch from, okay, this has utility, but it's not a lifestyle? Like, what was that switch for you?
Yeah. So after I graduated, I moved back to Florida and I was figuring out what I wanted to do. I graduated as an athletic trainer and I realized I didn't want to do that anymore. And I was really just into the nutrition side of things. So I ended up moving back to Florida and I found a job as a nutrition scientist. That was my title for a supplement company. So I was like formulating supplements and I was doing that for a little while and I was like, I don't like this. And so I started coaching clients, like I started my business. And at that point, that's when keto was like really like trending.
Even still, I feel like so many people latch on to that.
Yeah. So it was really trending there. And at that point, I was still myself kind of like in that world and like had gotten maybe a little bit too deep into it myself, like really like I can't eat any carbs, scared of carbs, all of that. And I started working with some clients and basically just like testing things out on them and finding that it worked sometimes for them. And in terms of like what the clients that I was working with at that point were CrossFit athletes. Some of them were not. Some of them were just like going to the gym, lifting. But
what was the pattern that you saw between the people that it did work for? Sorry.
So I think that for more of the people who were a little bit more overweight, so like more of like the
had
more to lose. Yeah, it worked very well in the beginning. And then as they lost the weight and as they got fitter and
they probably required different substrates at that time.
Do you also think that was a large part of the weight loss was like limiting an entire food group, so their selection of foods was more strict?
Yeah, and I also think the appetite suppressant part of it was a huge part of it because, not like thinking about, at least for me, not thinking about food all the time, like that's what really drew me into kind of sticking it with it for a long time. So I think that was a piece that really helped people. But then as you kind of adapt to it a little bit more, that falls off a little bit, just like everything else. When you start something new, it's like
progressively overload,
exactly.
Even with nutrition sometimes.
Yeah. So I think that was a big piece of what like kind of got people off the ground with it. And I think also like the clear mind, a lot of people, at least for me, having like more of those cognitive benefits and especially, in the morning, be able to focus a little bit more, like some of those things were what really drew me to it for that period of time. And then as I continued, through it, as I continued bringing clients, through it, there was some more negatives that kind of outweighed the positives. And that's when I started to kind of question like, okay, this could be a tool, but as a lifestyle for most, especially because I was starting to work with more women, for most women in the population that was coming to me for nutrition and fitness and looking to just, change the shape of their body and get, lose a little body fat, but build a little bit muscle, a little bit more muscle. It just wasn't working.
What were those adverse feelings that people were bringing up?
Just a little bit like too much restriction, right? Like, especially living your everyday life and like being able to go out and, enjoy restaurants and like go to, I don't know.
Actually, this is
have a cocktail.
This was my actual experience with keto. Actually, in 2000, right when the pandemic hit, so 2020, like that summer, I was like, well, this is the time. Everything's controlled in my life. I might as well give keto a go. And at this time, I didn't have access to a lot of heavy weights. So I was doing like CrossFit cardio light and trying to do keto and thinking that it was going to work. And even at this time, I was super afraid of carbs. And the reason why I liked it and actually stuck with it, even though it took me 30 days to actually get into ketosis, which is crazy. It's like, I don't know, just it's not as easy as people think it is. So it does take time, even for fitness professionals. So it took me a long time to get into it. Once I got into it, I was like, wow, I'm not thinking about carbs and sugar and food as much. I can stop when I'm full. And this kind of reminds me like what people are talking about with like Ozempic and GP3, whatever.
GLP-1s.
Those things.
Yeah.
And Mounjaro is that it's not even about like that they're just eating less. It's that the cognitive result of not feeling so stressed and so restricted and so at odds with what they put in their mouth that they actually were able to like keep it for longer and longer. And my experience with keto is I was probably one of these people that could have used you. I needed somebody to tell me to eat more carbs because I was really just doing circuit training.
Yeah. I love that this is an example of just like how the three of us have all like lived a similar trajectory, whether it be keto, whether it be just wanting to shrink, whatever it is. And we're almost like guiding from this, I fucked up, so you don't kind of approach. And we've all like, I know the three of, at least you and I have been there where we're like, we started our our exercise routine because we wanted to look a certain way. And now we
want to look toned, okay?
We want to be toned. We want to look good naked. We all do. But now we all have this like, I want to feel really strong. I want to be healthy and like resilient when I'm 80. Like,
and when you focus on that, the body composition just naturally starts happening.
Right.
When you start existing and talking and acting in the ways that the people who have the body composition that you want do, the body composition just naturally happens. You're I'm putting the carriage before the horse. Let's talk about so Rachel.
Back to Rachel
and also back to the clients that you helped, how did carbs come back into your coaching?
I think the biggest thing for me is like always trying things out myself and going through that. And I don't regret literally any of my trajectory to where I am now because, and I'm sure you guys don't either.
Right.
I mean, maybe a few things, but you learn from that, right? Like always change your mind, always progressing, always learning. That going through those experiences is what shapes you into, at least for us coaches, right? So we can say like, hey, I know exactly where you are right now. Like I was you 5 years ago. I know exactly how to help you out of that.
I'm going to give you the fast track while I took the long road.
Yes, exactly.
for more or less words.
Yeah. I think with my transition, so I transitioned from being strict with keto to moving more into the metabolic flexibility side of things. And I was like, okay, so it's not just keto, but keto can play a role and help you to become more metabolically flexible, which just means that you can be able to use carbs strategically. And so I started bringing them in more so with like in my workouts and started to feel just 1,000 times better, not only during the workouts, but afterwards, like with recovery. And my body composition started changing a little bit. I also at this time, like when I kind of was ending my keto journey for myself, so to speak, I was like kind of put my hands up and let my ego go and ended up hiring my first coach. And that kind of changed a lot of things for me, not from just like someone else being an outside set of eyes telling me like, okay, these are the things we're going to do and I'm going to hold you accountable to them, but also saying like, okay, you need to eat some carbs and let's test it out and see how that goes. And also transitioning away from CrossFit and high intensity training more into like the bodybuilding side of things.
I'm curious, how did you see your body change after you made that switch from keto to bringing in more carbs? Like, I know you said it was slow and more intentional, but
And
how?
you changed your workouts too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see your body change?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of two variables there. And how it basically started is I ended up injuring my back during CrossFit. I think this was it was October 2018, I believe. And so I was kind of just like down for the count, kind of lost, like I couldn't work out.
We've all
I was
been
like,
there.
yeah, I was like, so just, I didn't know what to do, like with my identity, right? Whatever. And so once I recovered from that, I think it was like February 2019, I hired my first coach, and I ended up losing like 20 pounds over a like 8-month period. Completely changed my training, started going to just like your Globo gym, following a strategic workout that was geared towards building muscle and not just doing cardio with weights. And started to eat more carbs, but did it in more of a strategic way, like kind of transitioned to bringing carbs in more around workouts and fueling that, and then bringing them in more like throughout the day and at night to help with sleep. And so I ended up losing 20 pounds and
With the introduction of carbs.
Yes. And training, and also just all the little things that I wasn't paying attention to, like just getting more in tune with tracking and my recovery, and not training 7 times a week and trying to just go.
So recovery was also important for you.
Yeah. And I know a big part in your last kind of season, especially as fitness professionals, we go through seasons just like you guys do too, where, life happens and we like, okay, let's, get back on and like really do something hard. And that's something that I've heard you say over the last couple months is Rachel was like, I need to do something hard again. And I'd love to hear kind of your trajectory from that time to where you are now. And, maybe talking about specifically pre and post workout nutrition, like how that seems like that was like one of the biggest things for you, and walking us through kind of what's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So just kind of looking back, I can give like maybe a high level of the last 6 years. Is that where we are? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hired my first coach about 6 years ago. And I would basically, like I said, started transition to bringing more carbs in, focus more on like bodybuilding style training, did a photo shoot. And then I transitioned after the photo shoot, went into like my first quote unquote gaining phase.
We say photo shoot because she did a strategic cut, like leading into the specific photo shoot. And then she had to reverse diet, or she had a protocol after that. Yeah. So after that, kind of my coach was like, okay, what's your goal now? And I was like, well, I got to this leanness level and I had muscle, right? But I was like, I could have used a little bit more, right? So he's like, okay, let's go into a building phase. So I went into like an 8-month dedicated building phase and ended up gaining like 12 pounds back, but with the strategy of focusing on building muscle, right? Did you guys hear that? 8 months she committed to this.
Were you uncomfortable at that like bulk, we'll call it?
So definitely towards the end, like, and especially after coming off of like, okay, I just lost this 20 pounds. It was really kind of like trusting in my coach and understanding that if I did want more muscle, I had to eat more food.
I think that's so important for everyone to hear. Like, rewind that if you need to. It takes a level of discomfort to get to that lean, full look that you want. And what you're saying is essentially that, right? Like, I had to be uncomfortable for 8 months in order to get to, I had to earn my spot at the place where I really want to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's really impactful to hear you say that you had trust in this coach, that you were going to do what they told you to do, and your, ego or the things that to be true about your body, like you worked with this coach to like, what's an incredible, just from the metrics, like losing 20 pounds of body fat for the most part in a year, in 8 months, and then gaining most of that back in muscle. I mean, that's just, this is what we talk about. This is the thing that people want, but they don't want to take 8 months. They don't want to take a longer time. So talk to us about how, what happened after the 8-month building.
So, and I think another piece of it was just the side of it that a lot of people are like, oh, I can do this on my own. And even for me, there was like a huge just like fear of, okay, if I have to hire my own coach, like, does that mean that I don't know what I'm doing? And it has nothing to do with that. It's just, there's so much to having the accountability, and also like putting the trust in someone else and saying, okay, tell me what to do. I'm going to follow it. So anyway, did the 8-month building phase. Like I said, definitely got a little bit uncomfortable. And then I'm trying to think, like, transitioned back into maintenance and kind of stayed there for a while. And then I ended up having another video shoot. So I went through another cut. And all this to say is that I spent like the last 6 years going through what I call these different phases of nutrition. So with my clients, I call it periodization planning. So you have like different phases, whether it's maintenance or going into a building phase or into a cut, like a fat loss phase, or like a health phase where you're focused on hormones and really maybe even dialing back training for that period of time. So
like if someone's going through like a high stress at work season, like that might be a good time for that health.
Yeah, exactly. And like after my second video shoot, I had gotten lean again, and then I had some gut issues and some hormone issues. So I had to go into a health phase. But with all that being said, there was like so many things I learned from that. And one of the things that really stuck with me was like fueling appropriately for what my goals were, especially like if I want to build muscle, I have to eat freaking food and pay attention to that and pay attention to my recovery and stop trying to do like a million hours of cardio. And then that's kind of something that I think a lot of women, as we know, make the mistake of, is like they think about more of like the quantity of the work they're doing versus the quality. And even coming down to like little things like the amount of sets you're doing in your workouts. Like for the last 6 months, I literally do 2 hardworking sets of all of my lifts versus what I used to be doing is like 4 or 5 sets, thinking I have to do more and more, where it's like, no, it's the quality of the work you're doing. And if you're working hard, especially when it comes to building muscle, getting close to failure, you can actually do a lot less and get the results that you want. It's just, people just don't know that.
Like
right?
minimum effective dose.
Yeah, exactly. And then pairing that with well-structured nutrition that is helping you to fuel those workouts and then also recover from them, which is another big piece that I missed out on for years.
And tell me about your training time throughout this. Like, was there a certain season of your life where you're like, yeah, morning workouts are better, or afternoon workouts are better, or like, is there a best time that you found?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I think that, first, it all comes back to, the person and their schedule. Like if there's someone who can only work out at a certain time during the day, and it's either do that or don't work out at all, like obviously you have to pick and choose and follow that. But for me, I used to work out early in the morning, and then I transitioned to more midday. And when I was doing CrossFit back in the day, I was doing that at night. So after work at like 6:37. And during that period of time, the combination of CrossFit and then training late at night, I literally didn't sleep for a year. Like my sleep was just so off because my adrenaline would be so high.
Right.
And it's like, how can you come down from that and like at 8 o'clock and be ready for bed? So typically I recommend, if you can, training earlier in the day, either starting in the morning or like for me, I do like mid-morning into the early afternoon. But I think the biggest thing here, and one of the biggest mistakes that I made for years, was not fueling for my training. So like going into training fasted, thinking that was the thing to do, or even just like if I went into training fasted, that would give me more calories to eat later on in the day.
Right. And gaming your macros.
Yeah. So that's a question I get a lot, is like, should I train fasted? Or a lot of women who do train early in the morning, they're like, I wake up already at 5 a.m. I can't eat anything before. Like, how do you expect me to do that? And if you can actually be strategic about it, and even just a little bit of protein, like half a scoop of protein powder in water, with like a rice cake or a half a banana, like that can go a date. Yeah.
Literally anything.
Literally can go such a long way, especially for women. As you're aging, like protein becomes so much more important. And if you are like missing out on those things every single day, like it will add up. So that's a big thing that I've been kind of have changed my mind, so to speak, over the past few years is like really fueling your workouts and paying attention to pre and post workout nutrition a bit more, because I think that can be a piece of it. Because if you're going into your workouts and you like have no energy, or you could have more.
Can you share us, like share this your before and after? Like, what did you used to do when you were like training in the morning? And then what's your like go-to post workout nutrition now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would just drink coffee, right? Wake up, drink coffee.
Black coffee with some ketones? What were we doing? Just black coffee?
Literally just black coffee.
Was it the bulletproof?
Yeah.
Coffee, like the
my gosh. Yep, definitely went through that phase.
Gross.
I actually think it slaps. I think it tastes great.
Ew.
I think it tastes
I think it tastes really good.
I mean, I agree.
With a little bit of salt and cinnamon.
Especially if you blend it up. Yeah. But that was, I mean, that's for a whole other podcast, keto mistakes, where people would be literally putting like 3 tablespoons of butter in their coffee in the morning and like
cream cheese on everything.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another podcast.
300 calories later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I just like coffee, or just going into my workouts fasted, thinking that, okay, like it's fine. It's not going to make a difference. And I don't know like the exact time. I think when I transitioned was when I started working with my coach, and he was like, yeah, you need to put some fuel in yourself. And, you know, it's not only going to help for the workout, but it's going to help for the recovery afterwards too, which is what people don't think about. It's like all of that matters. So kind of transitioned away from fasted workouts, started incorporating even just a little bit of protein. Like I said, like a scoop of protein powder, sipping on that on the way to the gym, and finishing it before you're halfway through your workout. Just gives you like a little bit of fuel to have. And then obviously working carbs in there as well. But now I really prioritize pre and post workout nutrition, because I know that like those 1% add up over time. And I think that that's something that at least a lot of the clients that I work with, they come to me and they're either just not eating anything, or they just have no idea what to eat. And so I think that, I mean, we can go into all the specifics, but the biggest thing is just thinking about like how long you have before you're training. So if you're training, you wake up at 4:30 and you have to go to the gym by 5, like I said, just like half a scoop of protein powder or a full scoop.
Even like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich would probably get you so much. An Uncrustable would probably.
Economy?
Yeah.
Yum.
That's the perfect economy food.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever eaten an Uncrustable.
It's just better if you
make
it yourself.
Shake and PB&J sounds great.
I love a PB&J. That's like my afternoon snack.
If I could eat peanut butter sandwiches on brioche bread for the rest of my life and still get nutrition and protein,
only?
I think I would do it.
Like anything else?
I don't know. I just love like a peanut butter sandwich on like a really like soft brioche bread.
That sounds good.
My nephew was eating. He has really weird texture things, and he only eats peanut butter sandwiches on bread.
Wow. And did you also eat only peanut butter sandwiches recently when you've seen him?
No, but
maybe
you want to.
I definitely eat peanut butter. Anyway,
okay. So that was before. So what you're suggesting is any source of protein, any little bit of carbs before your workout, if you're like first thing in the morning.
So the easiest way to think about it is kind of like around your workouts, you want to focus more so on protein and carbs, and then further away from your workouts is more like fat, protein, and carbs.
So
more
add
well
more of your
balanced
fats for the day around dinner. If you're
and not that you don't want, like, you still want to have, like, so for example, if we're going through like a pre-workout snack or meal, just think about, okay, how long do I have before my workout? So if you have like 90 minutes, you can get in a full meal. But if you only have 30 minutes, you don't want to like have a full meal, because then you're going to be digesting that during your workout, and
your
instead
blood's
of
in your gut and not in your extremities.
Exactly.
What would you say to someone who's like, when I wake up, the last thing I want to do is eat, is because that makes me want to throw up?
So I would say, okay, throw a scoop of protein powder in your shaker bottle, or even like essential amino acids if you really don't want that, but just get something in your system. And then also thinking about too, the night before, right? So a lot of people think that like your nutrition kind of resets the next day, and it doesn't. So if you're someone who trains super early in the morning, then we can look at optimizing your pre-bedtime meal and have like either looking at your dinner, making sure you have some good carb sources in there, or at night having like a Ninja Creamy, adding some fruit in there, and protein, like slower digesting protein. So that's going to help to make sure that you're going into your workout well fueled the next morning.
Does Rice Krispies, Rice Krispie treats count for a good?
It's a nice.
evening recovery.
Yeah, pair it with a little protein and a little bit of fat. Actually, Rice Krispies are a legit pre-workout snack because it's a fast digesting carb, a little bit of sugar, glucose, and that along with the protein shake would be our protein.
Excelente.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I've been eating at least 3 or 4 of those bad boys every night for the last
that's why you look
week.
shredded right now.
Yeah.
But to your point, and again, not to like make this about me, but truly like you're kind of speaking to my language right now. You know, I've talked a lot on this podcast about how my nutrition timing has kind of been off, where I've been eating a lot at night because I'm just so stressed during the day and like my appetite's low. And like Kelsey was saying, I wake up and the last thing I want to do is eat anything. And that's not because I'm just not hungry. That's because cortisol is coursing through my veins and I'm not self-soothing or self-regulating enough to get appetite back. Because first thing I do in the morning is wake up, drink be stressed. Right now I'm journaling. So wake up, journal for a little bit, and then like have my pre-workout and get ready for the gym. And in that window for the last couple of months, I hadn't really been doing anything. I'd have like my pre-workout and bring like a bar to have halfway through. But since we've talked, I've started adding in like, 2 cuties, a half a bar, and a protein shake all before I train. And then after I train, I literally today was like one of the first days I've done it, had like a scoop of rice and protein, just something, even if I'm not going to eat the full meal.
A scoop of rice?
Oh, no. Yeah, like a cup of rice and like 6 ounces of chicken. And then I just ate as much as I like, felt appetized for. And the rest of that meal I'm going to have, when I'm ready later.
No, yeah. I mean, and I think that's a lot of people can relate to that because they wake up and they're like, I'm not hungry. I can't even think about eating. And another thing is just even utilizing like Gatorade. So for me, I train mid-morning and I have like my breakfast and then I have a pre-workout meal, which is like either oatmeal or cream of rice. And I add protein or egg white.
Second breakfast is the best breakfast.
What?
Second breakfast is the best breakfast.
But I also am looking for myself to optimize everything right now because I've had things pretty dialed in. So I also have like an intra-workout drink, which is just a little bit of Gatorade powder, like full Gatorade powder, not Gatorade Zero, because we're doing this for the glucose.
Yep.
And then like a scoop of EAAs, which is just essential amino acids. So that in itself is covering your bases. And someone who trains fasted could do that, like 15 to 30 grams of a Gatorade powder and a scoop of EAAs and just sip on that on the way to the gym and just make sure you finish it like once you get halfway through the workout. So you at least have that fuel.
Just
and that's just like an easy.
There.
Yeah. And then one of the biggest things too is like if you are going to go into your workout fasted or with like minimal fuel, make sure that you get your post-workout meal in as soon as possible afterwards. I think that's something that has gone back and forth where it's like, oh, this anabolic window, and people have heard it doesn't really matter anymore. And I think it's all in context. Like if you ate a solid pre-workout meal, then that anabolic window, so to speak, you have a lot longer. So you don't necessarily have to go chug a protein shake right after you walk out of the gym because you have fuel in your system from your pre-workout meal, right? So it's like you have to just be strategic about that. But if you didn't go into your workout with anything, then you're more susceptible to quote unquote losing some of your gains or not recovering as well as you could if you had that post-workout meal. And the post-workout meal is just as simple as getting a well-balanced meal of some protein, meats, eggs, if you're vegetarian or vegan, some type of vegan or vegetarian protein, a carb source that digests well for you. I'm a big potato gal, so sweet potatoes or squash, you know me.
Delicata squash, baby.
Yeah.
It's almost time.
Yep, and a little bit of fat to balance it out.
I feel like we could go on for hours because this is such a big topic because so many women are like, oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting and keto and all of these like trendy things. But the whole point of this conversation is that like we have all broken up with the dogmatic view of nutrition, of training, whatever. And our whole goal of this podcast is to come at a sustainable, this is supposed to complement your life, not be your life approach.
And you have the tools and the education to make decisions for you that feel good and that feel aligned to your overarching goal. I think it's really impactful that Rachel talked about these different phases of your training, the different phases of your life. If you're in a phase right now where your seasons aren't aligning, like you are going to the gym every single day and you're going really hard because you're actually running from something in your life and you're feeling really sad and stressed and bummed out, like maybe this is the sign to like change course a little bit. Or if you're someone who probably could use a little extra kick in the pants and just doesn't know really where to start. Like maybe just this pre and post workout nutrition. It's like getting that dialed in can be the lowest hanging fruit to your entire nutrition landscape changing because you just changed one or two things with, a little bit of guidance and education.
Do we want to do the rapid fire portion now?
Yeah, it's very clear that Rachel is a very well-researched, very well-educated woman in this space.
She's got a lot to
say. And she has so much good information. And while we can't have her forever, we wanted to do a little fun rapid fire from some of her greatest hits. A big hot one is, do you give your clients a cheat day?
Good question.
And what do you say about cheat days?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys agree. I don't love the word cheat, but I do. And it depends. It all depends, kind of where they are in their phases, right? So I take a very strategic approach to periodizing to make sure that we kind of are following systems and structures to that. So, for example, if a client's in a fat loss phase, I'll strategically work in refeed days or diet breaks or things like that. But my approach is really to hopefully help them to find balance even within a fat loss phase where they're eating foods that they enjoy and they're not restricting so much that they feel like they need a cheat day. So for me, it's a cheat day is more so, okay, we're going to strategically increase your food for the next few days because maybe your cycle's coming up and you're feeling low energy or you're...
So it's situational.
It's situational, yeah. So this was not very rapid fire.
Rapid fire number two.
Yeah,
should women train around their period?
Because you just went to it.
Should women
train around
their period? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah. So this is, it depends.
Not the nuance.
We get this question a lot too. It really depends because everyone is so different in how they respond. And I think that if you try to pinpoint I'm at this point in my cycle, so I'm going to reduce my training or I'm going to try to increase my training and you're missing out on all the other things that are happening, then you're just going to spin your wheels because what about your sleep? And what about, your stress at work? All of these, there's so many variables that go into your life that if you are trying to, adjust your training around that, you
might shortstop yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So you feel good, really good 20 days of the month. Are you only going to train those 20 days?
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, one of those days, if you train when you're not feeling amazing, but you take the RPE down, you usually feel better for the next one.
Exactly. And I think a big thing too, I know this is rapid fire, but I think this is important. I'm a huge data nerd, as you know, all my Excel spreadsheets, but because it's so individual, and this is what I do with all my clients, track these things, track how you're feeling and how that's coinciding with your cycle. So for me, my energy levels dip right before my cycle starts and I feel like crap in the gym, but I've tracked that for a while that I've seen those trends over time. And so then I can kind of anticipate that and know that I'm not just being a little bitch, there's a reason this is happening.
Totally. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm just going to keep going on it. One movement for the rest of your life. Oh my God. Just one movement.
Honestly, love-hate relationship with split squats.
Yes! Unanimous decision.
We love her. We love to hate her, but we also love her.
But we also love that we can change the resistance profile of her and change elevation.
Yes.
She's a very versatile girl.
Yeah, so versatile.
And strong hips mean strong life.
Honestly, Bulgarian split squats are an underrated glute exercise.
Oh, yeah.
My fucking ass cheek is so sore every time, and I love it.
This is not, I wanted to give you a rapid fire question around your pre and post festival nutrition so we could tell everybody how to party like a board certified nutritionist. Do you think you could give us a couple sentences on how, if the feral strikes, what do you do?
I got the feral itch.
If you got a feral weekend coming up, we might, what do you do?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So definitely load up on squash. No, definitely electrolytes and water for sure. And I definitely try to get in just really solid balanced meals
For the full week leading up?
Yeah, I mean, just because I know that if I'm going to be out dancing and not really paying attention to my food and maybe like drinking a little bit or whatever, just making sure that I get some good nutrition in before.
Jax. We said Jax. Okay. So lots of electrolytes, lots of like balanced meals, status quo, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, not really like change anything, like just my normal meals that I eat, but just making sure that I'm being proactive about that and getting some calories in. And usually those trail weekends coincide with sports as well. So that's going to be like a whole other piece of it. So yeah.
I think like you touched on the nutrition or the electrolyte part of it, and then just you heard it from her. Just keep doing the same thing. If you have fun events and fun weekends coming up, it doesn't mean you need to go crash diet and over carb load no, just do your normal do. And then when the party weekend comes, make sure you give yourself a little bit extra water, extra electrolytes, but listen to your own body. And then what happens after? Like, what's like the first thing that you do when you're like, all right, trying to get back on the train again?
Back to what I normally do.
Same thing. I love this.
Whoa.
Wow. Rachel, thank you so much for being on the Overt Thinking podcast. We really are so glad that you're our first guest ever.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And this was so informative. I feel like we could just keep talking for another hour. So thank you so much for joining us. And don't know what the topic is next week, but
I think that this has been a really important time for us to look back on all the things that we've done right and wrong, and maybe you listening included, reflect on some of the things that you've maybe not gotten right or changed course from, and know that you're not starting from scratch when you start something new. You're starting from experience, and we are so excited for your journey, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode.
Also, you can find Rachel's Instagram in the show notes.
Yes.